¿No encontrabas el link?
Estaba abriéndolo en el celular para mandármelo a mi email de Yahoo, que lo tenía en el de Gmail. Déjame bajar la aplicación de Gmail aquí para
No, no, no,
mirártelo.
no, sí, ya, déjalo para después porque ya vamos a empezar. Ellos, ya faltan 3 minutos nada más.
Sí, sí, ¿no? ¿Dónde está?
Yo sí, yo veo que a la hora cero, es más, déjame mandarlo para el VIP chat, ya para que por lo menos John también lo tenga ahí. Y si veo que a la hora exacta esta mujer no aparece, entonces se lo mando por LinkedIn. No vaya a ser de que algo haya pasado, ¿no? Así que quieren coger cajitas.
Ujú. Ay, se embarcaron.
Nada más que Violeta se ha espabilado porque ha hecho todo lo contrario hasta ahora.
Yo se lo dije. Yo se lo y ella me dijo los otros días, eso fue ya como decir el sábado por ahí o el viernes. No, fue más, no, sí, fue como el sábado, el viernes ya. Y ella hablé con mi mamá unos días después, al otro día, 2 o 3 días después, y no sé por qué algo salió así, que ella me dijo, mira, no, si yo empecé a hacer lo que tú dijiste, y yo me casé y dije lo que yo dije. Y ella dice, sí, la gente tiene que empezar a ayudarse ellos mismos, porque esto, que lo otro, porque sé hasta cuándo que no sé qué más. Y yo le dije, 100% de acuerdo, 100% así es como es.
Sí.
Porque la gente no reciben y reprosican en la acción. La gente recibe y entonces quiere más y así, mira, así como quieren las cosas. No, no
Mira,
que...
esto es muy
na-
simple. Ninguno de ellos, ninguno, ni Estrella, ni Estrellita, ni Claudia, ni nadie, ninguno de ellos vivió nunca en su vida más mal que Violeta y yo. Y tú al principio. Que bueno, tú casi no lo viste porque enseguida nos
yo
espabilamos y
no, para mí aquello era un vacilón.
bueno, pero nosotros sí pasamos trabajo serio y nadie nos ayudó. Nadie, nadie. Y mira dónde estamos. Quiere decir que si nosotros lo hicimos, ellos lo pueden hacer también. Pero tienen que trabajar, que fue lo que hicimos Violeta y yo.
Ustedes nunca han dejado de trabajar todos los días.
Y duro hacer, duro. No solo trabajar, sino trabajar duro, bien duro.
Ujú.
Que era lo que decía Violeta. Oye, si hemos trabajado tan duro, si hemos hecho las cosas de la manera más difícil, ¿por qué tú le vas a hacer la vida fácil a los demás?
Sí, porque todos los demás, no es que porque le vas a hacer la vida.
Hello.
Hello, how
Ah,
are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Fine,
we're
fine,
good.
thank you.
Oh, you'll have to excuse my informal appearance. We've got some celebrations going on, so we're trying to
Ah,
have a fun Friday.
don't worry
Good.
about it. It looks beautiful.
Yeah, you look
Well,
so good.
thank you. Thank you. All right. And I had some of my notes and stuff pulled up here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes, we do.
Fantastic.
Hi, I'm coming on camera. Hold on just a sec. There we go.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, good. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Great.
Good.
Great. Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
we want to introduce Alex and John. Um, and so, John, introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure thing. Hi, Alex. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
My
John.
name my name is John Thomas, and I'm been working with Sergio and Laura for I don't know, boy, quite a few months now. 6 months maybe. Has it been that? Maybe even more.
Yes.
And Uh, I'm my previous experiences as chief technology officer at various companies. I was also senior vice president at WEX in charge of their fuel card systems um, for quite a few years. Um, and so I've been off doing some various consulting and contracting over the last couple of years. And yeah, Sergio and I got hooked up somewhere along the line, and have been enjoying helping us sort of establish Zero IFTA and get it up and running. So that's a little bit about me. Maybe you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Alex Keating. It's a pleasure to meet you. I previously worked with Shamrock Trading Corporation or RTS, which was a big partner for Wex Fleet One. And my role there, I started with merchants. I was merchant account manager brought in before we were even our own company. We were just a team under RTS Financial. And then about 6 months afterwards, we ended up becoming our own legal subsidiary. When I started, there was no operations people at all. There was one person besides myself who wasn't a pure sales rep. He was doing like reporting and data stuff at a very basic level. But we started growing, and I was seeing what the sales reps were, doing, and uh, just noticed a lot of inconsistencies and ways that we could improve. And so I started documenting things down and brought it to my boss, who was director, and then, our boss, who was the VP of the group at the time, and said, like, hey, if we're going to keep growing, I think we should probably standardize some of, what we're doing and come up with areas, consistency, et cetera. And so that's how I ended up building out the operations department. And then, I retained my merchant relationships and ended up expanding them, because when I first joined, I was just responsible for the RTS Plus network, which wasn't even named that at the time. It was just a handful of independent truck stops. And the WEX and TA and pilot partnerships were really led by our VP. But, as I grew, I quickly ended up taking over a lot of the responsibilities with that partnership for all of those. Well, besides TA, because they no longer had that discount partnership with TA, but Pilot Flying J and WEX, and became one of the primary contacts there, and helped just implement all of the strategic initiatives that we ended up tackling, from the different fuel card programs, shop and tires, and then also helping with the other divisions, such as the financial division, Pro Transport. We purchased that software and brought that team into the Shamrock family. So helped a lot there because they didn't really have a person in a role like I was. So yeah, that's how I got introduced into the transportation industry, and I ended up leaving Shamrock. It was December of 2021. I had been approached by somebody who actually used to work for me, and then she was over at Databricks, and one of her partners was a tech startup based out of Canada, and they really needed, this revenue operations role and partnerships. And so it was a very difficult decision, but I saw an opportunity to help, grow my
Sure.
knowledge and skills
Yeah.
and experience, and ended up taking a chance on that. Unfortunately, due to circumstances out of my control, that situation did not last very long. And a few months later, I was, looking for another opportunity, and shortly thereafter ended up at the company that I'm with now, which is Every Holdings. It is a company that primarily services the casino industry with part of it is games. So they build electronic gaming machines, and the other side is fintech solutions. So compliance software, ATMs, kiosks, loyalty programs, etc. So all of the things that these casino customers need to do their daily operations, and then branching out because we have acquired some other companies. So we also work with like cruise lines, or one of our newly acquired companies from last year is a mobile application for venues. So sports venues, entertainment venues, working with that too. So expanding that out. And I primarily work with the CRM applications. So now I am managing a product and a software development and admin teams for our CRM applications, which is Salesforce, CPQ, and ServiceMax for field service. So took my background in revenue operations and a lot of the experience I built at Shamrock, and came here and really focused on that area in this company.
Great. Great. Well, it's an interesting path that we all take, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. It very much is.
Yeah. Good. Good. Yeah. So we're in the pretty early stages here at Zero IFTA, but it's a pretty interesting opportunity. What I think has been really interesting is working with these other two folks on this call. Is they it's funny at WEX, we would try so hard to innovate. We would have innovation sessions, and we'd sit there and we'd try to innovate. And innovation is such an interesting process, and it's it's got a little bit of, I guess, determination, but it's more you get these ideas that might happen, and it's hard to like make that process happen. They sort of happen at the strangest times and in places that it's very hard to just straight up nurture it, to say, darn it, I shall innovate. And so what's been refreshing with working with these two is they've got this heartfelt, way to help people because it's helped them. And there's a lot of conviction by what these two have been putting down in terms of their own investment to get this company moving. And so it's been fun to see it sort of go from the early ideas and some false starts to now there's some really from a product perspective, there's some, super solid traction happening here. And so I think the next steps are, working more on sort of marketing and people who have industry experience to figure out how to get this thing rolled out working and adding the benefit that Sergio and Laura both found using this tool. I mean, it's graduated from the spreadsheets that they would crank through to say, aha, I know what I'm doing, to, simple applications that will drive the best answer based on the information available in terms of saving you money. And I think, the whole zero IFTA thing has been interesting. It's sort of like, the IFTA taxes. I'm sure you're pretty familiar with the IFTA processes, right? You must have, from your time at Shamrock RTS, or not. I don't know. I don't want to make any assumptions, but yeah.
We had an IFTA partnership, so yeah, I oversaw that and I was familiar.
Yeah, and I mean the taxes you pay are the taxes you pay. I mean, I guess unless you change routes, but then there's a whole different set of things. But for any given route, we're all paying the same tax for it, right? And a happy byproduct of finding the cheapest unburdened fuel along a given route is it tends to be one where you may actually pay in more at the pump, costs, and those taxes rolled in. And so then you don't get hit with this surprise at the end, because I think that's what I know Sergio was suffering from, was these quarterly IFTA surprises, right? And if you've paid along, you just have less of that happening. So it's been neat to see it happening, and we've got a good development partner that's been working on building the nuts and bolts of the system, and so that's where we are. So given that, I guess, what are your thoughts around, how would you help work this concern and grow it into something bigger? What do you see some of the challenges that we're going to face, and some of the things that we'd need to do?
Yeah, great question. So I'd actually like to come back to that, if it's okay, and get a little bit of background as far as like what progress has been made, or what advancements you guys have had, changes since our last conversation. So I know we were chatting in, I think it was end of March, April timeframe, and I know at that point we thought maybe the app was going to be going live soon, but it sounds like maybe there were some changes. So where are you guys at right now, and what model are you hoping to operate? Because I know that we were also not finalized with the contract with WEX yet, and kind of looking at partnerships. So what is it that you guys see as the product offering now, and where are you at? And then I'd love to circle back to your question, John.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I'm going to take some notes. So can you hear when I type? I never know if my keyboard actually picks up. And so if so, I can always mute myself. But
haven't heard any typing yet.
Okay. If it does get kind of clicky, because this keyboard's starting to get old for my personal one, just let me know. I can mute myself while I take some notes.
No, these systems are pretty good at filtering out that background noise these days.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I mean, I could give you some answers, but maybe you guys would be better to respond, or.
Yeah, I think we were talking to Shasib, and he said that once we get access to that API that gives them the real-time fuel prices and all that data, he says in about a month the app will be ready it will be finalized. That's what he told us.
Yeah. So I guess in the app development, there's a lot of work been going into the app proper, and there's really three things that have to come together for that. You have to develop the software. We need the data about fuel costs, and we get that once we have the contract with WEX. We now have the contract of WEX, and we kick that off, because basically the revenue model here is using the app, subscribing, and then so there's that's sort of the core original. But then the bonus is if you use our fuel card, which is a WEX issued fuel card, we also get benefit from that as the parent of that program. And so we are, we're working with WEX for the card design. The contract's been signed, and we've started implementation. There's some trainings that we're doing on their basically our goal then is we can sell cards independent of the application, but the idea is that the application is our conduit to sell cards, and that marriage of the app and the card is what's powerful, because you get, not only do you get discounts from their inherent network, great if we can go negotiate additional discounts outside of WEX's network that we can tie to our card. WEX lets us do that. So we just add more and more value to the customer as we gain more recognition and create that value. But basically our app will ensure you're finding the right places to stop along your route, and making a meaningful difference, as opposed to somebody who goes to all the wrong places along the route. And so where are we? Yeah, contract's been signed, training starting up with WEX for the sales side. Our app's not yet fully developed, but really close. We're getting we should get, I would have thought this week, so I would think next week we'll get the credentials for the FTP site to get the fuel data sent to us on a regular basis.
That's right. We were supposed to get it earlier this week or even last week, but a few of the guys on WEX's side had take some days off, but they're on it. We'll get it right soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple of things I can see just from that background, the challenges. Obviously, with the fuel card market, there are quite a few programs out there now, right? And so I think that's a big challenge, is branding and finding yourself that market, especially when you have some bigger programs that are very established, like RTS, Ambest, Roadies, WEX, Edge. The Edge program was always very difficult because WEX used to have, or Fleet One, I should say, had their unbranded card that you could convert, but now everybody just starts. If you go to Fleet One, it's an Edge card. And so, that's immediately giving discounts. Discounts are a lot more common than they were 15 years ago. I remember when we first started, people didn't even believe that we really had discounts. And then not only that, but direct bill. So I know that, Pilot and TA and Loves all have a very significant, hold with direct bill as well. And they used to not offer smaller fleets direct bill deals, but now they'll direct bill with a one trucker. So I do see that as a challenge to overcome, but certainly, feasible. Another thing I will say,
but before you go off that topic, keep
yeah.
in mind of your next topic, because I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. I took a bullet point.
Okay. Now I got to keep in mind what I was going to say. Oh yeah, I mean, how do you think the relevance of some of our customers will use our app and keep using whatever card they have? Okay. Some of our customers will use our app and decide that it's better if they switch into our program for whatever reason. Others might use our app and they might be cash users, and we can enlighten them to the benefits of using a card. Of course, the folks at WEX are would make statements about something like 50% of the drivers are not using they might either be using a regular MasterCard, just a consumer, or not a fleet card of any type, or cash. And so of course, in an attempt to they were anxious for us to sign with them as opposed to somebody else, and so they of course say how the market to go after is that uncarded market, the ones that aren't using a fuel card today. Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of those like percentages thrown out there as well, and you never really know how truthful they are. I absolutely know that there are people out there still that, back from my days, granted, I will constantly remind, it's been 2 years since I've been at RTS, but I still have a lot of people there, and know a lot of the challenges still remain. But you're going to always have people who are the cash for whatever reason. They don't want to get rid of their cash, but then you also have the people who still like to use their own like rewards Visa card, right? Like, I'm getting my miles, and those were challenging conversations to have. But the way that we always approached it was, breaking down what you're actually paying versus like, here's your rewards points and what it does versus, how you are saving money with a fuel card. And I mean, I do think that there's an opportunity, but I think the bigger challenge for Zero IFTA will be, how do you get into that market and then outsell a company like, and I'll just say them because I worked there, was RTS, right? Like, where they have hundreds of fuel reps that are constantly calling. So, making sure that you're either the first to engage or keeping them. And then from there, it wasn't even I mean, the challenges that the transportation or trucking companies face, a lot of it is cost, right? And so there was no penalty for them to have all these different fuel card programs. And that was another thing too. With WEX, we were always told like, oh no, they can only have one fuel card with us. And we found out very quickly that people would still have a NASTIC card and an RTS card. Or, then also when WEX started gobbling everybody up and they had TCH, T-Check, EFS, and Fleet One, it was like, well, of course they have 4 cards now because you just bought all of the companies, right? And so there are people who have those multiple lines of credit, and that was a challenge, right? So then you were really trying to go for the discounts, because then you wanted to have the most competitive discounts so that they would use your card. It doesn't matter if they have XYZ cards, they're going to want to use your cards. So then it was negotiating with the fuel centers or truck stops to then get the discounts. But that becomes a catch-22 because you need the market to
Right.
be able to go in and yeah, exactly. So I see that as a challenge, one that could obviously still be overcome, but it is something to acknowledge for sure.
Yeah, the idea is that people appreciate that the algorithm that we use in our app is unique and gives you a better answer. So if we can get a captive audience through some sort of, the ideal sense would be this viral adoption of the app. Take the fuel card out of it. Just that alone would be huge. If this app is this good, so good, and people say we're going to use this app, then you got eyeballs and you got wallets that you can start to go after, and that if you can create that that subscription base to your app, that user number of users, you've got the negotiating power to go create the discounts too, because you can say, look, we're bringing these. So that's the theory, that's the idea, that's where we want to get to. Yeah,
Absolutely. So how do you see, like, because obviously the app is being fed in and you're going to create the pricing, but how does that play in to your point where you said people could use the app without like using whatever fuel card they have? So how do you marry their discounted pricing, because you won't know what their discounted
we
pricing
won't know
is?
what their discounted pricing is, right? We could add things to the app where they could try to find ways to tell us, but honestly, they probably don't even know what they're discounting, what their actual discounts is at different places, But you could add some features where if they knew what, this brand, okay, so we can capture that. But basically, it would be we'd be operating off from the retail price, and so users can use this without using our card, without using any discount. The cash buyers can use it and say, cool, this is where I should be going, because I am paying that retail price, and because I'm a cash user. So yeah, basically we run our algorithm with our prices based on our discounts, which are stock discounts currently. Great if they become better discounts over time based on what we can negotiate. and we can also run it with, retail prices, no discounts. This is where you should stop. And then you could have a third option where, this would be, I think, a later feature where if we could figure out how can we best understand the discounts that user's getting with their payment mechanism, whatever it be. And if we could find a way to capture that information, because they give it to us, we have I don't think a network would let us, just know what their discounts are necessarily, to that level of detail. So, then they could run with, hey, assume I get this much discount at these brands. Okay. We run the algorithm. We tell you, this is where you should stop based on that information.
I think sorry.
Nope, nothing.
I was going to say a couple other things that I think will be a challenge. So you said you're getting the API. Is that coming from WEX or is it coming from Opus? Or I guess you're using retail pricing, correct?
Yeah, we're getting, WEX provides a fuel price file, and we can get it from them. They update it continuously. We'll probably pull it from them once an hour, something like that. We can pull it as much as once every 15 minutes. But maybe we do every 15. I don't know. It doesn't really matter to our software development. That'll be a knob we'll tune later. But so we'll get that price. We're counting on those prices being accurate. They won't always be right. But they'll probably be directional, I guess, would be the theory. That file's coming from WEX, which in turn is some of the same data that's feeding Opus and coming from Opus. I think it is basically on par with whatever Opus would have, or better, because WEX has all of their actual transactions happening real time that they're pushing into that file.
Yeah, I will say data integrity was always a challenge, and bigger than I expected, because there's a handful of things, once again, speaking to how it was 2 years ago, but I don't believe too much has changed there.
I'm sure it has.
But with the pricing, for instance, it is dependent upon card swipes. And so if somebody did not go to a smaller station, then we had stale pricing happening a lot, which, once again, you would think that it wouldn't happen as big as their market is, but it does happen where it'd be 7 days old and then we'd end up having it fall off of our app. Then we had times where people would swipe their cards and the file that fed through to us was just incorrect because it was not actually, another thing, diesel 1 versus diesel 2 is something that you have to be prepared to deal with. We would have those lines, cross, and just trying to make sure that the data we were presenting was accurate, because then your next follow-up is customers, right? So we would have customers who would call us and say, your app said that this was the price, and I'm looking at my, my bill, and that's not actually what I got charged. And we would be the ones that would have to help try to remedy or figure it out. And sometimes there was a legitimate pricing discrepancy. Other times it was user error, but you still have to then, support that customer through those conversations. And I am so terribly sorry. I actually do have a 2:00 that I have to go over to, but I'd love to know a little bit more about the WEX partnership the agreement that you guys have come to, and some of the discount programs that you said you maybe have already started. And then I had looked and I thought I saw maybe a job description, and just knowing about the team, if you have brought on any more people or how many people you're looking to bring on, the roles and the structure. So just getting kind of an understanding of where you guys are at from that perspective. And I believe, that's what I had for my list.
Okay. Awesome. Well, this was great to meet you, Alex. And this was a good meeting for sure.
Yes. Likewise. I very much appreciate the time. I apologize that I do have to
Yeah, we'll let
run,
you run.
but
Sounds like you got to go. So we'll follow
yeah,
up
I've got
separate.
I've got
Yeah,
my meeting starting now.
go,
So thank you
go, go,
so
go,
much.
go.
Okay.
See
Okay,
you.
take
Bye bye.
care. Bye.
Bye
Like,
now.
so,
Yeah. We lost Laura. Oh, well, all
so
good.
I'm gonna bring her back. Oh, give me a second.
We can hop on a different meeting, or this was your meeting, anyways.
Ah,
Yeah. She's back.
ah,
Okay.
yeah.
I wasn't sure it was supposed to stay or not.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back.
So, what do
Uh,
you think about her?
yeah. I mean, she's obviously nervous about joining a small startup because she's been burned once or twice already. So, but I assume she's also not completely satisfied with the opportunity she's at. So, I think the opportunity. So, I think she knows the business from another side of the business than what you two know. So, I
Mhm.
think that's a great marriage because
Yeah,
she knows some of the problems we're going to have, and she's absolutely right. Um,
yeah,
and and we spoke about that as how can how trustworthy will this data be, and we're just sort of, I guess, going to wait and see how that plays out is our current answer. And I don't know if that's the great strategy, but I don't know what else we'll do about it. um, and I think either way, our app, I get some of the things she was worried about there won't be our problems because we're not, we're just a card. It's really, those are WEX problems. They're going to call WEX when they have a discrepancy on the payment amount and stuff like that. Or maybe they'll call us and WEX. I think we're sort of a front for some of that, but
Mhm.
I think we can pay WEX to handle that, or we can handle it. I guess is what if I recall from the contract with WEX. But uh, so yeah, she's obviously got a lot of knowledge
Yeah.
of the industry.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think she can add a lot of value for sure to our team. She's good. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So and I think just the nature of her questions is how real is this? Where's the
Right.
contract? Where's the app? How big's the team? How big's the team going to be? So I mean, those are questions we could probably put a little thought into more in our planning. Like I don't know if you guys have thought at all about, like, as after that WEX kickoff and we start doing that sales training. Like I said, I guess we've got two different things that marry together nicely. But one is the app, getting it built, getting it launched, and getting people to pay subscriptions, which I think is the current model. And then we've got the card, um,
Right.
and you can just go sell the card right without the app. If you wanted, I think it'd be hard. That's where the marriage of the two is so nice. But um, you know, uh, I guess it comes down to, I assume at some point you guys need to see some revenue coming out of this before you're willing to, like, pay more salaries and pay more. You've got this chicken and egg problem of,
yeah,
you need people to build the business, but you need the business to hire the people. So
yeah,
Yeah.
that's where this stuff's capital intensive, um, and so that's what I think she wanted to hear. She wanted to understand what are some of the possible paths of growth for the company and timeframes. Um, is kind of like if we could give her some sort of, like, here's our strategic plan for our business. Here's our business plan. We expect these kind of revenues. We expect these kind of customers. And we expect to have to, grow. Some of I think some of that is, you keep the cards close to the chest, but some of it you indicate that you've got this kind of thoughtful plan, um, or hopes slash plan. Plans are funny; they really are hopes more than a plan, aren't they? You can
yeah,
declare them a plan, but none of us foresee the
Yeah.
future. But I think if you position it more as, yes, this, more confidently as a plan, um, you'll convince someone like her that, yeah, okay, this feels good to join on.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
She does just wants to feel like just not gonna make a mistake by just joining us. A little bit insecure and unsure. That's how it was when we very first met her, like quite a few months back. But definitely this time she's a little bit more. Like she's seeing progress for sure from the first times that we talked to her to now. She's liking what she's seeing, which is
Yeah,
good.
yeah, I think so. I think so. But yeah, we're if she joins up and then in 4 months we say, oh, this hasn't worked out, God forbid, um, where's she going to be at? She will have yet another short stint at a company on her resume, and I think she's feeling concerned. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how we can eliminate that other than, the only way to get her to bite on that is either she's really not in a great position at her current company, or I don't know what kind of offer you guys are thinking of putting together for her, but um, certainly some sort of stock options in the company is the way it would normally happen. And I've been involved in a few of those from the more like her side, and somebody would say, oh, here's 100,000 stock options, and the company has a valuation, so there's a strike price for that, for the stocks. And basically the option is that if at some point in time those options vest and they become yours over some 3-year schedule or something. Um, forgive me if I'm telling you. I don't know. Is that helpful stuff to
Oh,
know?
yes, it
Okay.
is. Yeah.
Okay. I don't. I just didn't. I didn't. I'm going off on details that I wasn't sure if
Oh,
you
thank you.
appreciated.
Yeah, we
Um,
appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So normally, like the company gets a valuation, um, and then you create shares of stock effectively, and people do like absurdly high numbers. So like I was at a startup some years ago, and here's 100,000 shares, and they think, oh wow, that sounds really good. 100,000 shares, and and then over time the valuation of the company grows. But I had a strike price of whatever it was, 10 cents.
Yeah.
So 10 cents on my options, and over time I would vest those, so they're not even mine on day one, but by year 3 they're all mine. But they're still useless the if the company valuation basically the company valuation grows, but also they issue more shares, so your shares get diluted. So
Yeah.
there's this balance of in it. So it might be that my shares are still worth, now they're worth 5 cents, not 10 cents. So those
Yeah.
options are worth absolutely nothing to me. Or maybe they're now worth $1, and so my it's a tenfold increase in what my strike price is. Um, so I make 90 cents on every share, and there's 100,000 shares, that's pretty good math. So, bottom line, if I were you guys, if I don't know what the legal state of the entity is, but presumably you could, you would basically work with some lawyers and stuff to create a valuation for the company, issue stock so that you could issue somebody like her, 50,000 shares of stock, and and she says, yeah, okay, now I've got some ownership in this thing, and I like that, and this is my lottery ticket. This is why I joined with these guys, because I'm going to make this company successful, and I'm going to turn those 50,000 options into $500,000, and so be it. And basically the company, um, the options, since we're private, we're not on a public stock market. Um, basically, if somebody buys the company, that's a case where all the shares pay out, all those options pay out because somebody else owns it, and the money that they paid for the company comes to all the owners of the company. Or you take the company public, and then those shares have a new price, and basically they pay off all of us old shares, and new public stock uh, are issued. So basically, those are the two scenarios of that ownership where that can be useful for her, or for me. Um, and
That's what I was thinking about.
yeah, yeah. Um, so uh, that's a way to entice her, is as opposed to just saying, oh, here's 0.5% of the like, oh, at this company where I was a CTO at a few years back, my 100,000 shares were a fraction of a percent of the company,
Mm.
which I didn't know. I tried to get out of my boss at the time, like, well, so what percent of the company is that? And she would never give me the total number of shares or the percent of the company, which should have been a fishy flag. And in the end, this is one of the companies that I left before, I had options that vested, but I didn't feel that the company was going to be successful. So I left, gave up my options, and, I could have bought them and held on to them in hopes that they were going to be successful. But I left them because I didn't think they were going to be successful. So why would I spend more money to buy my options? Because normally when you exercise an option, the price is higher. So they do you're sort of technically you're buying it for 10 cents, but then you're selling it for $1. So you're making 90 cents, so you didn't have to outlay any cash. It's because there's sort of this transaction that happens. But in my case, I wasn't exercising the option. I was just buying the option because that was my, well, I guess I wasn't selling it. I wasn't buying and selling. I would just be buying. So I would have had to pay tens of thousands of dollars for these options. And I was like, nah, got a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in there, but I wasn't going to do that. So point is, that's how that whole process works. If we could offer her some kind of ownership under such a construct, she'd probably be like, yeah, it's a bit of a, you can choose to be as transparent or not as you want. You can impress big numbers of stock, and it's just, wow, this must be good. Or you can actually say, look, here's 0.5% of the company or 1% of the company or whatever it is that you would feel comfortable with. But you're effectively giving her your investment at that point. So you got to be careful. That's where a vesting thing makes a lot of sense. You don't want to just give it to her on day one. You want her to earn that over some period of time, where she's earned her value and has stayed there. She gets the right to earn the target amount of ownership.
100%. No, that's awesome information. Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that was a quick overview and a sort of, I guess, technically I'm a layman in this, but I've got some experience in it. So it's not my area. Right. But I'd be glad to, discuss it further if that's helpful or point you in the right direction. But again, it boils down to, probably lawyers yet again.
Mm-hmm.
We always appreciate that. Yeah. That is a very good information.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if you talk with her again, I don't know if you guys are following up with her. I think she had some specific questions.
Yeah, she did.
Still, I can't even remember what they are right now, but
yeah, she just was talking about basically what our solution is going to be if we send a driver somewhere and the retail price doesn't match. And she was also talking about what do we think about our expanding our sales team or what she's going to be doing on that side.
Why would we hire more people? Because she wants to be a chief operations officer. She wants to manage the operations.
Yeah.
That usually means, processes, people, things happening. So she wants to get a sense that, that there's something to manage. It's a fair ask. Yeah. And hopefully she realizes, she would have a significant input into, helping us identify the problems, let alone solve the problems. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So she has more experience in that area than us. So that's why we want to hire her, because she knows better than us what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, I truly do think what's neat is you guys have this, this sort of on the ground, on the wheel experience that you're bringing up. And then she's got the other side. It really is kind of neat to kind of meet in the middle. For that. So sure. Yeah, she's good. I assume she's good. She's clearly got some relevant experience, and I like that she's asking questions. I like that she's cautious and wants to be convinced. I would be nervous if she just said, "Oh, let's go, sure, come on," and I'd be nervous if she was like that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
It's good. She seemed like a pretty reasonable individual.
Right on. That's good to hear.
And John, you are very helpful as
Yeah.
always. Uh,
Good,
you
good.
know,
Well, you told me what you were trying to accomplish, so I tried to help.
yeah,
Yeah.
always when you are in our meeting, you are very confident because we know that you really gotta help.
Good, good.
Yeah.
I hope I'm earning my keep. So you guys, I've been so busy lately. I feel like I haven't given as much time into Zero IFTA as I would like. Um, but I'm trying to find time, and come January, one way or another, my time frees up because I either have to work with you through my other company, or not work with you. If that'll be your decision at that point. My hands will be tied. Um, yeah, but I'm working. Well, you guys work long hours, so you won't be impressed with my hours, but I'm working pretty long hours these days, and it's hard to find time in. But a little meeting like this was easy enough and fun, and glad to be of help. So.
Right.
We know that. We know you are very busy, and we also know that once we start making money and we succeed, we not bring you in our organization.
I love your thought. I love your thinking. All
Yeah.
right. I got to roll. Good to chat with you guys.
Same, John.
Hey,
Have a good day.
Take care. Bye.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.